We may not think that we have to give much attention to ethics, but in fact we're influenced by ethics every single day. And in fact, you're going to make hundreds of ethical decisions throughout your lifetime. I remember when I lived in London, I used to think, well, should I give up my seat on this busy train for the elderly passenger? Or perhaps when I went for my coffee, did I think, well, maybe I shouldn't go here because I know this coffee isn't fair trade? And perhaps sometimes I tell my wife a little white lie as to not hurt her feelings. So as you can see, ethics are everywhere, and that includes your operational plans. Now, the operational plans that are going to be produced in your organization could be subject to ethical requirements that could be part of your company's ethos or perhaps our best practice. And what we're going to do in this section of the video is look at these factors and to see how they may influence your plan moving forward. So, firstly, we're going to be looking at corporate social responsibility and sustainability. Now, lots of companies conclude that CSR, corporate social responsibility, and sustainability are the key drivers of innovation. And they believe that the more environmentally friendly and socially conscious they are, then the more it's going to drive employee engagement. The more it's going to satisfy the consumers who go, okay, I feel like I can trust this company and go with them. And it's also going to help attract and retain the top employee talent, as well as demonstrating compliance and leading to market differentiation, which are all the key ingredients for long-term growth and profitability. All good things. Surely everyone wants to be involved with all this goodness and possible profit. But before we move on, let's see how we can define both terms. And we're going to start with sustainability. Now, sustainability is a method of conducting business, which means that future generations are still going to be able to meet their needs. Now, this frequently means in today's, excuse the pun, climate, environmental sustainability. So we're talking about things such as recycling and also not using fossil fuels, but instead renewable energy. But it also includes social sustainability and social responsibility. So that's sustainability. What do we mean when we talk about CSR, corporate social responsibility? Well, this is all about how a company is responsible for its impact on society, and so its impact on future generations who have to live in the society and in the environment. And so this includes social, environmental, and economic aspects. Maybe things such as engaging in charity or volunteer work, or, we talked about the coffee example earlier on, where they could only sell fair trade coffee, for example, or ensuring diversity, equality, and inclusion. Now, as CSR and sustainability become the concentration of many organizations, it's increasingly integrated into corporate level strategic planning. Management often now have to balance increased regulation, and by doing so protect the organization's image and reputation, and make sure that CSR and sustainability are practiced for ethical reasons and strategic advantage, like we talked about at the beginning, all the positives. So, that's why organizations do it and have to do it, but what does this mean exactly for you? Well, it means that you have to consider the influence of your organization's CSR and sustainability on any operational plan that you produce for your managers. And so, let's have a look what we mean by this. Well, let's turn to sustainability first, and you can see I've just put internal environmental policies up on screen. So this may be things such as the organization's policy towards waste recycling, or policy on carbon neutrality, or travel miles or products. That's our internal environmental policies that's coming from within the organization. But we also have environmental risk management. So this is things such as the risk of contamination of local water supply, or air pollution levels, or carbon footprint monitoring. And these are all things that we hear a lot more of nowadays, don't we? Just in media and print and things like that. But more things to consider in sustainability are environmental legislation impacts. So these would be things like the UK's Climate Change Act of 2008 or the Energy Act of 2020. And finally here we've got infringements of environmental legislation. So for example, this may be something like when an organisation is fined for sending excess waste to landfill. So that's the kind of things that are going to impact on sustainability, or impact on your plans, I should say, because of sustainability. But of course, we've got some CSR examples as well. So here are going to be things like workforce policies. So this will be things like the organization's diverse hiring strategies or staff inclusion networks for marginalized groups, and ethical policies, which would be things like the modern day slavery policy or human trafficking statements. Now, there isn't any prescribed format for including or considering any of the factors we've just looked at in operational plans, as the impact of CSR and sustainability is going to depend on the project or task that you've been assigned to. Now, operational plans may be focused solely on increasing CSR and sustainability. So I'll give you an example of this. Sainsbury's, which is a UK supermarket chain, stated in its 2014 sustainability report notes that it had reduced its carbon emissions by 8%. Now, that's okay, that's in a report, I see what they've done there, but you know, that's actually someone's had to work towards that. And it would have been the job of employees in lots of different departments across the entire business to produce operational plans which detailed how their department was going to help the organization achieve this reduction in carbon emissions. So, for example, those in the logistics department may have said, okay, I'm going to show you how the supply chain network could work towards carbon neutrality. But every department would have had to work towards helping the organisation achieve those goals. And that would have been operational plans. Now, operational plans may also have a goal that isn't directly linked to CSR or sustainability, but the plan should still consider and be influenced by these two factors. So, I'll give you an example of this as well. Let's imagine we've got a house building company which has got a strategic goal of speeding up the completion of houses by 20% in terms of time. Now, this would similarly feed down into the operational plan of the Welsh division. So faster building will mean the need for more rapid deliveries of materials. However, in determining how this increased speed is going to be achieved, they should still take into account CSR and sustainability. So they wouldn't be adhering to CSR if lorries were constantly driving through the small roads of the village and blocking residents' access. They should also consider the environmental factors associated with this and how they could be more sustainable in reaching this goal. So maybe the operational plan would talk about sourcing materials locally, or making sure that they're not wasting energy unnecessarily by, I don't know, leaving equipment running. Now, developing and integrating a detailed, responsible and sustainable vision into a long-term strategic plan in a way that creates lasting value whilst also building trust is a pretty common challenge for all types of organisations, whatever their size. But it's of no use if it just stays at the strategic level. Considering all the points we've looked at when drawing up operational plans will make sure that the business's vision becomes a reality. So, we've already shown you some significant impacts that stem from sustainability and CSR, but there are other ethical factors that you need to consider, and that is the code of conduct. Now, a code of conduct is the most common policy within any organization, and basically it's agreement on rules of behavior for the employees of that particular organization. Now, it supports the organization's mission and basically sets out what the organization believes in, its values and its principles. Now, these guidelines, which are set out in your organization's code of conduct, should be what underpins all your decisions, your aims and your goals in your operational plan, and be a reference point for decision making and planning. So let's have an example that we're going to use a lot through this video. Let's say the operational plan for the manufacturing department of Little Dolls Toys has a goal to increase production to make sure there's lots of stock levels for the upcoming Christmas shopping period. Now, in the company code of conduct, it clearly states that any paid overtime worked is voluntary. And so any operational plan to increase production or any future decision with respect to achieving that plan can't be based on forcing workers to stay late or work beyond their shifts in order to meet their goal, because of course, in the company code of conduct, any paid overtime work is simply voluntary. So it's making sure the company code of conduct is taken into account when setting operational plans. So, in making operational plans, you have to make sure you are assessing the ethical requirements of your organization that's going to influence an operational plan. Your company's requirements are, however, the bare minimum. Ideally, you should be aiming to act above these standards.
And if you enjoyed that video and would like to see more from us, be sure to like and subscribe, and consider following us on social media like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, or go to our website linked in the description.